Hello and welcome to a very special episode of Walk to Cinema podcast where it's my host's birthday pick. And we're going to be talking about Jim Henson's Labyrinth. Hello, happy birthday.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So, you picked this.
I did.
Picked The Labyrinth, which is a movie you've made me watch before. I hadn't seen before you made me watch it.
Yeah. It's one of those movies where I think a lot of people have watched it, but they don't really think twice about it, or they kind of don't know of its existence.
Well, it's not critically acclaimed.
No. I could make an argument for why it should be critically acclaimed, but
you will through the episode, I feel. But
I know.
I've heard people talk about it.
Yeah.
I heard Scarlett Johansson talk about how this was her sexual awakening.
Right.
Because of how tight the pants are.
David Bowie's pants.
Yeah, David Bowie.
Yes.
Sorry, I assume people knew that David Bowie was in this, but yeah, David Bowie's in this.
Yeah.
I guess they wanted a pop star to be in this.
Yeah, so I have a ton of facts and just interesting tidbits about The Labyrinth because I've seen this hundreds of times, probably.
It's the best Jim Henson, I give you that much.
Yeah, because this was one of my classics growing up, where it was one of the only VHSs I had at my dad's house, so it was like one of the ones that I would always put on, if like at night.
Now we get to watch it on DVD.
Yes. That I found at a thrift store, so always good. But yeah, I've seen that. I've seen all of the extras that you could possibly find about it. There was interviews with like David Bowie and Jennifer Connelly, who is our main character.
This movie recently turned 40?
Yeah.
Was it 40?
I think it was 40.
It was recently. It was a couple months ago. I tweeted it out. So you can follow us on Twitter, by the way, if you haven't already. Walk to Cinema.
Well, it came out in 86, so it's,
No, it's 35?
Yeah, something like that. It was 35, I think.
I tweeted whatever year it was because I looked at it. I looked at it in the exact day it was turning, whatever date. But hopefully with some anniversary edition in the future, we get more extras so you can burn more of your time learning about this.
I've seen all of that. There's different things that I just kind of instinctively know because I've experienced it. That I'll also talk about. But
so you made me watch it for the first time, and it immediately starts with those terrible CGI howls.
Yes.
So that wasn't a good start for you.
I mean,
that was a hard sell from there.
I mean, the CGI owl,
I think this is one of the first movies trying to really go into CGI, into a feature-length film.
Yeah,
well, not that it uses a lot of it.
No.
Jim Henson, in general, is known for his practical effects.
Yeah, for those of you that may not know, Jim Henson has done The Muppets. He's done this.
The Dark Crystal?
Dark Crystal, yes. He's known for his puppetry.
Which, yeah, they look very unique. I like how they look, actually.
Yeah, I think that they always look very interesting. And so Jim Henson, from my understanding from the different things that I've seen, read, he wanted to create a movie that was kind of like a coming of age story for his children.
Yeah.
And, kind of wanted to have this character, Sarah, that is kind of stuck between still being a child and kind of becoming a grown-up, or, going through that stage. I
think he did a good job with the story. There's never critical praise for the story. They mostly praise it for a visual standpoint. But I think it's the underrated bit in this is he actually did make a good coming-of-age story.
Yeah, I think it's really good because you have a character that's very childish. Sarah at the beginning is very childish.
Which gets her into the situation because she wants her sibling gone.
Yeah.
I think it's a brother.
Yeah, she wants her baby brother Toby gone. So she wishes for the Goblin King, which she read in a play that she has, like a book that she has. She wishes him away for the Goblin King to take him away. And our Goblin King is played by none other than David Bowie.
The sexiest man alive at the time.
I mean, that's kind of what they were going for, is they really wanted a pop star, or like an iconic rock star, to play Jareth, the Goblin King. They had talked about maybe having Michael Jackson play it, but they didn't want it to be.
They wanted someone with that look.
Yeah, they wanted.
What do you call that look?
Like androgynous.
Maybe, yeah. I get that was very popular, and it was very hot at the time. So,
yeah. I think that the reason why they kind of steered away from Michael Jackson was because they didn't want it to be too sexy, and at the time, he was pretty big.
They messed up because Bowie is still too sexy. It's too much for me.
But yeah, David Bowie does an amazing job, I think, at playing the kind of cruel but accommodating type of ruler.
He really embraces it to a point that it's kind of creepy in one scene for me, where he kind of wants her to join him and he'll do anything she wants. He says something like that.
Okay, but I have I'll tell you my take on that, because I think it is kind of...
Go ahead, it's your episode.
I mean, so the scene that he's talking about, I think, is the end scene, right? Mm-hmm. Where at the end she is going to defeat the Labyrinth and take back her brother, and he's trying to stop her from doing that. And he says the line, "Fear me, love me, do as I say, and I will be your slave."
Yeah, and she realizes he has no power over her.
Yeah,
but that's creepy that he wants to be a little girl's slave.
I mean, it's not like that, but that's like the fantasy.
No, I get it. But
of her, it's like her.
But
fantasy.
He's so into the role that I'm like, damn, does he want to be a slave? Is that what he actually wants? I don't. But as you were saying,
I don't know. I just think that the reasoning behind it isn't so much like it's meant to be creepy.
I'm sure it's not.
You're calling my favorite movie creepy right now.
No, the movie's not creepy. I'm just calling that particular scene and how David Bowie is so into this role that it comes off different. Is that better?
I guess. But there's just so many moments about this that I find iconic. They have a whole bunch of puppetry that they use, and one of the kind of main characters is Hoggle, who's kind of like Sarah's friend through the labyrinth, but at the same time he also leads her astray a couple times at the...
It's kind of opportunist.
Well, it's at the command of David Bowie's character.
Well, he goes back and forth who he wants to help, I guess, for his benefit.
Yeah, I guess it is for his benefit, but it's also, he is scared, I guess, of...
Yeah, he's scared of the eternal stink.
Yeah, well, yes, the bog of eternal stench.
Stench, yeah, that's what I said.
But the interesting thing about Hoggle's character is the amount of people that were basically the character. So we had Shelley... No, it wasn't Shelley Thompson. We had the person in the bodysuit, Sherry Weiser, I think was her name. She had the bodysuit on during the filming. And then the mask that she wore was very intricate. So there was the person that did the voice for Hoggle, plus like 3 other people that all had different jobs in order to move the facial structures. So like the eyebrows and the eyes were moved by different people, and so was the mouth was moved by a different person. So in one of the extras that I saw, it was them talking about how difficult it was to figure out how to work all in sync at the same time, because like Sherry, the woman in the costume, had to know how to move and react, while also the people moving the facial expressions had to know how to complement her moving and stuff and make it look natural. It's very
intricate. They look intricate. Even if you don't know, you look at the puppets and they look like a lot.
Yeah.
And this movie has an insanely long cast.
Yeah.
Of a lot of shorter people. I don't know what the appropriate term is nowadays, so I won't say anything. There's a lot of people that have to fit into these suits, and I mean, there's scenes that have 40? Yeah. Goblins with the king.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's all very intricate, the goblins, which I always really enjoyed. And fun fact about the Hoggle costume, I learned this it just kind of happened. My grandmother lives near Scottsboro, Alabama. And in Scottsboro, Alabama, they have this store that was on the Oprah show at some point. It was like highlighted. It was the unclaimed baggage store, where it was just a huge store that had everything was filled with unclaimed baggage. And for some reason, I still can't to this day figure out why it's there, but they have in a glass case the costume or like the puppet of Hoggle there, used in the Labyrinth movie.
Maybe we have to drive down and figure out why it's there.
I can never understand why it's there, but like when I saw it, this was like completely unprovoked because we were visiting my grandma and we went to this unclaimed baggage store, and I walk in and lo and behold, one of my favorite things of all time is just on display at this store.
Maybe if we make them a good offer. Offer our car or something.
I just remember, I think I saw this when I was like 14, I think is when I went there. So 14-year-old Caitlin was just like, oh my God, my life is made, you know?
You didn't even get married. Your highlight just happened.
It was the highlight at the time, you know?
Uh-huh. Thank you.
But, yeah, that was that. And then another thing to talk about is, I guess, what do you think of the music?
There's good music.
Mm-hmm. David Bowie did all the songs.
Yeah, there's good music.
Mm-hmm.
There's good stuff in this. Not all of it. I know you don't like one of them.
Yeah, there is one that I'm not particularly fond of, but
it's not my favorite song, but it's my favorite scene.
See, and I'm the opposite. I think it's not my favorite song, and it's also my least favorite scene.
I like it. I think I don't know what went behind it. Maybe you do, like the switching heads and bodies and flipping.
No, I don't remember anything they talked about, anything in particular.
I think that looks really cool to me. I don't know.
The one that we're talking about is the body switching, or the head switching gang, where they take off their heads and their limbs and stuff and like use them.
Yeah, the orange fiery looking.
Yeah, and it's the song that they sing. It's not my favorite thing ever.
The scene is kind of not necessary.
Yeah, that's kind of what that's my, I think, quarrel with it, is like everything in this movie makes sense. Everything put together is just so nicely done, and then that just kind of feels random. Like it feels like something, honestly, that a studio or you know, production company would cut out, because it's not.
No, I get it. It doesn't. I don't think it makes the most sense, but it's elaborate in a beautiful way to me. I think, I don't know, the way they dance around is cool to me. Mm-hmm. That's the only reason I don't got anything more than that. Mm. I mean, there's also the scene where she falls down the hole, and it's all the hands, and they use the hands to form eyes and mouths and noses. That's really cool, and that had to be done by multiple people. Yeah. So that looks crazy cool.
Yeah, there's another fun fact that I know about this movie is one of the things that Jareth, the Goblin King, uses are like these crystal balls, and he looks like he's moving the crystal balls in a really like weird way, like very intricate way. David Bowie could not do that. His hands, he couldn't learn how to manipulate the crystal balls in a way that would look realistic. So what they did was they hired this professional jugglist who was, I think he was like really famous at the time for his juggling. Not like everybody knew his name, but just in the juggling world, he was really famous.
You know, the juggling world.
Yeah, so like they had to like, in the scenes where the crystal balls are being manipulated, they have David Bowie standing, and then the jugglist has to put his hands through David Bowie's costume.
I'm so jealous of him right now.
And kind of like hug him from behind and then manipulate the balls. Which sounds, you know...
Awkward.
And it was awkward because I saw like behind the scenes footage of that. And it took a lot of shots to try and get it perfect because, yeah, he's really good at juggling, but when you're trying to juggle with your hands through a costume and another person, it's really hard to get it right. So
I feel like this film is very meticulous.
It's very meticulous because he had to do that while also David Bowie had to be delivering the line. So even if one of them did it perfect, if the other person was
they
off,
both had to nail it.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into this movie, which I think makes it good.
Yeah. And I just have to talk about the music because
it's very important.
This is the type of musical, because it is a musical. I would say it's a musical.
I mean, there's 10 songs?
Yeah, something like that.
So it's a musical at that point.
I loved this music so much. Like, I would actually listen to it without watching the movie. It would just be a song that I would play. Yeah. You know?
Nowadays, you'd put it on your Spotify list. Yeah. Back then, you put it on your Walkman. Yeah. Your iPod, maybe. Yeah. First generation.
Yeah, my first gen iPod. But, yeah, the one of the songs, You Remind Me of the Babe. What babe?
That's like the main song, right?
Yeah, it's like the more iconic one.
The main song that it identifies the movie.
It's just the Goblin King talking about it's not really talking about turning Toby into a goblin, but that's like the plan. Yeah.
She has 13 hours. Yeah. Before that happens.
Yeah. So it's just him and his little Goblin Kingdom palace. And they're just jamming.
It doesn't really seem like a palace. I wouldn't like to live in the middle of goblin filth. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't call that a palace, but...
But that song in particular, they have baby sounds. And another fun fact that I know about it is during the recording process, David Bowie did actually hire a baby to make sounds for it. But he really didn't... Like, the baby just wasn't performing.
It was a dumb baby.
The baby just wasn't performing, and when he did perform, it just wasn't... The sounds weren't as good as he wanted, so he decided that he was just going to make the sounds himself.
He's so good that he makes better baby sounds than a real baby.
Yeah, so he did that. You know, they manipulated it so it would sound even more like a baby, but it's a fun fact.
It is fun.
And then I know that the baby that they used, Toby, was actually the son of one of the producers, which was just kind of fun.
I would let David hold my baby any day.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have one, but if I did, I would give it to him to hold.
Yeah. Too bad. He's not with us anymore. So sad. But yeah, there's that one. My favorite scene in the whole movie is definitely the scene where Sarah eats like this forbidden peach type thing, which is very reminiscent of like other folklore stories about, you know, I think of it as like a Hades and Persephone type thing where she's not supposed to eat any of the food in the underworld or else she's stuck there. It's kind of like a very similar type of imagery. And she gets transported to like this scene out of like just a fantasy. It's like a ball scene. She's in like this pretty white dress. Her hair's all done up.
It's very that scene is the one that's most differently shot from the others. From the lighting to just how fast it moves around. It feels looser than anything else.
It's like a ball, and she dances with Jareth. Yeah. And it's like in order to make her forget that she's even in the labyrinth.
Yeah, that's why it's so different from the labyrinth, because the labyrinth is so structured. It doesn't feel like she can go in any direction. It feels like she's stuck in a line. Yeah. So the camera's stuck in a line, but during the ball, it's very fluid.
Yeah. And the thing with this one, with this scene in particular, is throughout the whole movie, there are a lot of elements in the labyrinth scenes that are reminiscent of things that you can find in her bedroom, like in the human world. So, like...
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, so it's like one of those things that you have to watch a ton of times before you realize.
Yeah, I guess I gotta watch it 30 more times.
So, like, those headless, feathery guys, there is a plushed animal of one of them in her bedroom. Same with like her dog there's a dog character in the Labyrinth, and there's parallels. There's so many parallels with it from her bedroom to her. They
also show it when they go back to the bedroom with I don't know where she is, a witch.
Yeah, it's like a witch, but yeah, it does show that too. But with the ball scene, she's dressed up like the, I guess, princess that's in a snow globe type thing. And so they basically made the set kind of be circular, to make it kind of claustrophobic and like you're in a snow globe or in that kind of crystal ball apparatus.
That's cool.
Yeah. I thought that was always super
really
neat.
Cool.
And it's always been my favorite scene, mostly because it's one of my favorite songs by David Bowie ever. Like,
you can't sing it because we'll get taken down.
But it's As the World Falls Down. It's just so pretty, and it just sounds so nice. Young me always really wanted to have a dress like what she had on. I thought she was so pretty in that. And
Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly. I just thought it was like the perfect fantasy type thing for a
little girl.
Yeah. And then, at the end they have like their big finale scene where it's like they storm the Goblin Palace and the Goblin City, and all her friends help her.
Yeah, the friends she makes along the way.
Mm-hmm. And then she has to defeat Jareth by herself.
Yeah. That's her growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Her having to do it on her own and not rely on other people to fix her mistakes, because this was her mistake. That's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
So this is the coming of age moment where we know now, damn, she's different.
Yeah. And they have this one set up. Again, she has a poster in her bedroom of that painting. I can't remember the artist that did it, but it's the one where the steps are all going in different directions. Mm-hmm. Some of them are upside down. Some of them look like they lead to nowhere. They made the set look like that.
It's a great set. I mean, everything about this is very detailed. It's done with a lot of passion. Yeah. Which you can tell, like, from the get-go. Except the CGI is terrible.
There's not a lot in there.
No, there's like 2 parts. Like, there's not a lot. It's not a problem.
Yeah. But she does defeat the Goblin King, and, everything goes back to normal. And she still is able to see her friends. Like, at the very end scene, they all show up in her bedroom. And I don't know. I've always loved this movie. I've always thought it's such a great coming-of-age story. I think that Jim Henson set out to make a wonderful story.
Yeah.
And I think it really succeeds.
And obviously his biggest talent is the visuals, which definitely succeed as well.
Yeah, and I know that he did the Dark Crystal, and I think that for this one he really wanted to make it more lighthearted and not as dark, because
I prefer the Labyrinth by a large margin, personally.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, obviously.
It's one of my favorite movies.
We're not even going to ask you what you rated it, because we already know. Yeah, you can still tell.
It's a 10 out of 10 obviously, for me, all day, every day.
I gave it an 8. Okay. But, I like it a lot. I mean, I watched it for the first time as a grown man, because you showed it to me, but I still liked it a lot. And if we ever have offspring, they're definitely going to see this. Plenty.
Oh, for sure. I could watch this movie all day, every day, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know you couldn't, but I could, because I
don't know if you could. I don't know if there's any movie I could watch every day.
I don't know. This one always just made me feel happy. There was a point in my life where I did watch it literally at least 3 times a week. And that's being generous. That's
something that kids do that I kind of miss. Mm-hmm. I wish, because sometimes you really love a movie, but then you can't bear to like watch it again like soon after, because it's, adults put more emotion behind stuff Well, they put different emotion.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes I wish that I could do stuff like when you're a kid and you just watch the same movie over and over again. Just like have Inglourious Basterds on a loop.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
It'd be too much, I think.
Yeah, it'd be too much. But as a kid, you do that every weekend. You don't even care.
Yeah, this one really has always struck a chord with me. I get why it's not critically acclaimed. I suppose it is very. I mean, it's a children's movie. It is. That's what it is. It would never.
But I watched it as an adult and I liked it. So.
Yeah, I know this one was one of the movies that my parents were never annoyed by, because there are some things that kids watch that parents are just like, I cannot stand this movie. But...
The one that I'm willing to do is Curious George. They can play Curious George every day, and I'll watch Curious George with them. It's so good.
But this one, it still has some of the entertainment factors that that adults would like, especially because this is a coming of age movie. There's
a rock star.
Yeah, there's like some innuendos, I guess. There's some things that you get as you grow up, and yes, it has David Bowie.
Yes, so, I mean that's the cool factor, if anything.
Yeah, it's so cool. This movie has always been so interesting to me. It was the reason I knew about David Bowie at such a young age.
The movie looks cool, sounds cool. It's just it existing is cool in itself. So and highly recommended by us.
Yes, and Jennifer Connelly she does such a good job, and she continued to do a good job in her career. And this was one of her first type of movies, and they picked her because of her childlike facial features and stuff, but also her ability to act very serious and
Yeah, she doesn't. There's not one single scene you can point out that she's not great in it.
Yeah,
she's great throughout.
Yeah, and I just love this movie so much. I could talk about it forever,
but the episode has to end at some point.
I know, and I think we've said pretty much all that there needs to be said. There is a fun fact. There is like a comic book strip, I think, that's kind of like a sequel to this, about Toby growing up and kind of like experiencing the labyrinth as an adult, I guess. But I've never read it because I don't know. It's not the same. It's not, I think it would, not that it would take away from my experience watching the movie, but I just don't think it's necessary.
And again, this is great because it's Jim Henson, because it's his visuals, because it's David Bowie and his music. Yeah. I don't think a comic strip could do that.
Yeah. So, there's that. But anyway, I think that's all that we have for this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment on the platform that you're listening to this to. If you guys want to talk about the Labyrinth, I 100% am willing to. I love this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, it's on Netflix right now. And yeah, that's all for this episode.